Oh, you were in the meeting. So he's giving the update.
Yes, yes.
So what do you remember? So that's committee. The exhibits I see. Charter commission messed up.
It's additional.
It should have been outside of the Thursday.
All right, we're ready to go. All right, good evening and welcome to the City of Sunbury Council meeting. It is May 1st, 2024, 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John.
Here.
Mr. Capel.
Here.
Ms. Strayer.
Here.
Mr. Neff.
Here.
Mr. Grumney.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mrs. Cooper. Here. 7 yeas.
Before we open up the public hearing, I wanted to just mention something to the public that are here. We do have a public hearing tonight. For those of you that will want to speak, you'll need to get sworn in. That is related to a rezoning application. There are two sections in this particular meeting where the public is able to speak. You can speak amongst one another, but speak with City Council. The first is going to be if you're going to speak for or against or related to the rezoning application on the agenda this evening. The second is going to be a broader section of visitor comments. Each one of these sections are limited to 3 minutes. We'll ask you to state your name and your address. But the first one related to the public hearing, that's if you're here for the public hearing and the rezoning. The second visitor section, which is on every single one of our city council meetings, that is open for anything that you'd like to discuss with the city council. So I wanted to mention that this topic came up in our planning and zoning commission meeting. I felt like it was important to make sure that public knows when we'd like to hear from you. So I appreciate it. With that said, I would like to open the public hearing, the Sunbury Land Company LLC. This is a rezoning application. I also want to give just a little bit of background of the flow of this public hearing. First, we are going to hear from our legal counsel. We are going to either our legal counsel or the court reporter is going to swear in anyone that is going to speak on this topic. We will also enter exhibits. We will then hear from the applicant. And then after the applicant speaks, that's when we will open it up for public comment. We'll ask you to come up to the podium. And then after that, we will have council inquiries. Typically, when the public is speaking, they're speaking in statements. You may ask questions. I would say it's not typical that city council is going to answer those questions on the fly. It is your time to voice your opinion related to the public hearing. So with that said, I'm going to hand it to our legal counsel, Mr. Breen.
Thank you, Mayor. As stated, we need everybody that thinks they might testify about this public hearing to stand and be sworn. Doesn't obligate you to testify, but if you're not sworn now, we've got to stop and swear you in. So if you think you might, please stand and raise your right hand.
So the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and the bodies of perjury.
I do. And I would like to mark as exhibits, we've got the rezoning application that includes the application itself. Some data that's required by the code as far as the subject property owners, rezoning statement, associated maps and legal descriptions. I'd like to mark that as Exhibit A for identification purposes. I've got the public hearing notice on the rezoning. I'd like to mark that as Exhibit B for identification purposes. And I've got the proof of mailing on the notices to the adjoining property owners. I'd like to mark that as Exhibit C for identification purposes. And with that, we're ready to have the applicant speak to their rezoning request.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Breen. All right, Mr. Underhill, please come to the podium. Thank you.
Hey, everyone, can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you. My name is Aaron Underhill. I'm an attorney with Underhill and Hodge at 8,000 Walton Parkway in New Albany. And I represent the Sunbury Land Company, which is an affiliated entity of the New Albany Company, who hopefully most of you know who they are by now, or over the years have seen what they've done. But the intent here is with this rezoning and previous annexations that you approved is to position the property that's the subject of the application, position it in a manner that will become attractive for economic development opportunities, that on a property that really is not much more than a stone's throw away. We think about it from the Intel project and everything coming along with it, and all of the successes that have been achieved in the New Albany Business Park. Like I said, this is the Planning Commission. A lot of the success of the New Albany Company in the city of New Albany proper has been directly related to their working relationship with the city. And we have certainly enjoyed working with all of you and your administration and staff to kind of put the tools in place to position this property to be successfully marketed to end users. So, you know, in addition to things you've done, such as engage with your school district, Big Walnut, to get agreements in place relating to future incentives to attract companies. I think a major thing that you did was to create this district that really encompasses some of the modern sorts of uses that we've seen attracted in recent years to New Albany. And our intention is to operate within the parameters of your limited industrial district that you've passed. And I think this will be one of several times. Obviously, we have a 3 reading process here with all of you for this zoning, but we will also be going through a plotting process, we think, with probably a new north-south public street running through this property, which will be a collaborative effort between our team and yours. You know, you have your zoning certificate process that as individual projects come through, those will be reviewed as well. So appreciate all that the city has done to here again put mechanisms in place to position this property to really do great things for the community, economic development wise, job creation, tax generation, et cetera. And you know, if we were in a PUD situation here, there'd probably be a lot more to talk about, but we sort of take what the code gives us and run with it. And that's what we're asking to do here. And we're happy to be the first ones to kind of test the waters under your new zoning district. So I thank you for your time and be ready to answer questions whenever you have them.
Thank you, Mr. Underhill. All right, we're going to open it up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak regarding the public hearing for the Sunbury Land Company LLC rezone? Please come up to the podium, state your name and your address, and we'll keep it to 3 minutes, please.
Barry Bennett, 5401 Plantation Road. Be really quick. One of the things that, just as a cautionary tale for me, I noticed in the agenda for tonight, there's emergency language in this, and I'm just questioning. To me, that seems like things are being rushed. That may not be the case because I don't know everything going on behind the scenes, but I would not like to see something like this be rushed. I don't know why that's in there, but that's just a question I'm throwing out there. That's really about all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Would anyone else from the public like to speak? All right. We'll open it up to City Council. Any questions for the applicant? Comments? All right, I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Martin. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Ayer,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you for being here. All right, so now we are going to pick up in our traditional meeting format. Again, we have approval of minutes, then we'll go to the visitor section. There will be a first reading on the application for the rezoning later this evening, and my individual stance is that we will not be taking action on this tonight. All right, so we have minutes to approve. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from April 17th.
So moved.
We got a motion by Mrs. Cooper.
Second.
Second by Mr. Neff. Discussion?
Yes. Under the word visitors, it says there we no visitors. It should be there were no visitors.
I will get that corrected.
Otherwise, everything else is good.
I'd like to correct you and say that was supposed to be there ye know visit.
Old time, so.
Can I get a second?
My goodness.
I recuse my former motion.
Are you ready for a roll call?
Roll call.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
Mr. Ayer,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, we are on to the visitor section. You can come up and speak with city council about anything you wish for 3 minutes within the constitutional law. Thank you. All right, nobody coming up, right? All right, thank you. Committee reports, Mr. Neff.
Oh, why'd you have to start with me?
Mrs. Dreyer. Who's Dreyer?
I do. I am attending the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission meetings, and it has, just for a simple review, several townships are looking at redoing their comprehensive plan and their zoning resolutions. I don't know where we are if we have to, but just as some reminders, for example, criteria for a variance. The granting of variance shall request, the granting of a variance request shall not be determined to the, the granting of a variance request shall not be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare, and not injurious to other properties. So, when someone is applying for a variance, we have to remember public health, safety, welfare, and it doesn't injure other neighboring properties. A granting of a variance will not vary the provisions of the applicable zoning regulations, comprehensive plans, or other existing development guidelines or regulations, nor shall it otherwise impair the intent and purpose of these regulations within the plan. The granting of a variance or desirable shall not interfere with a desirable development of the neighborhood and community. So granting a variance, we need to consider that. We want to keep our development and neighborhoods and our community very desirable and with what's in our comprehensive plan regulations. Request for rezoning. They are used to better serve the permitted use. And it will also provide betterment and permitted use of surrounding properties. So for rezoning, we always have to consider what is being used, the best use of that property and the surrounding properties. And okay, when a rezoning request does not meet all the applicable sections of a rezoning resolution, and it does not conform to the current comprehensive plan, it may not be the most efficient use of the land as subject site and surrounding properties, it gets denied. So along with all these comprehensive plans and rezoning requests, there's a lot to consider, and you have to consider where the property is, its main function, what it is currently zoned for, and the surrounding properties, definitely makes a difference. So there's several properties in the Delaware County area close to us, but spread out all over that are going through these comprehensive plan and rezoning criteria. And just as a reminder to all of us here, when we have something like that, it's imperative that we consider all of the above. That's it.
Mr. Romney.
Yes, no, I have nothing right now. Thank
Mr.
you.
Capel?
All right, we had our services committee earlier this evening. Two major bullets from that. One is our 2024 street program. We're trying to get that out to bid a little bit earlier this year than we have in the past to try to take advantage of potential cost savings in getting our bidding package out there earlier. We tentatively selected some streets that we wanted to put out for bid and see what the cost comes back at. We might need to pull a couple back out of there again. As for right now, we're looking at advertising on May 13th with a bid closing on the 28th of May. Award date 6/5, and then July 8th to potentially start construction. So especially since North Miller Drive is one of the major streets that we're looking at, the goal is to get that done prior to school starting in the fall. Then we also talked about stormwater management and getting legislation together to enable us to establish and enforce stormwater controls throughout, especially new developments, but redevelopment of existing land by developers, by owners, just to give us kind of the legal power to actually enforce some standards in those areas. We should get legislation on a future council agenda. And then the only other update was that we have a new tentative completion for municipal and police building projects of mid-July. So that's all I've got.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Cooper?
Nothing tonight.
All right, Mr. Martin?
I'm gonna yield to Mr. Neff.
All right, now it's my turn.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am. I'm
Write
ready
his
now.
notes.
So we had our parks meeting tonight. We actually did cover a lot of material in 23 minutes. So, Memorial Day market on Memorial Day, May 27th, we'll be closing down Granville, 6 to 10 food trucks, kids zone, a big activity for everyone to come. Also during that time will be the memorial, what do you call it, the march, from J.R. Smith Park up to.
There'll be a memorial service down at J.R. Smith Park.
Yep.
That will then make a path and walk down to the cemetery and the Fallen Heroes Memorial.
And then that weekend also starts the farmers market. So it's going to be a busy time on the square. We did talk about some of the other parks, the General Rosecrans detention basins. There's some of the invasive species, the trees that are growing back up. So we're going to work with mad scientists to remove some of those. Old Orchard Park, they are going to go through and mow down the trails to keep them, so they're going to come back to the way that they were built with the Eagle Scouts, was it? Back in the day, that we're going to make sure we kind of preserve their work and keep it for everybody. As far as that, make sure.
You might point out that mad scientist is the name of it.
I was about to.
Oh, it's just a mad scientist. Yeah.
Online.
And so Mad Scientist Company, tree removal company will come through and get rid of the invasive species. We also did get an update on J.R. Smith Park, where we are operating under the assumption that we have secured about $1 million worth of funding to start looking at that project and working towards the finish line on that. The reserves, the fishing reservoir, that is heading along very smoothly. The walking paths are in around the reservoirs, and pretty soon Fishing Pier in Reservoir 1 will be arriving so we can get some fishing on.
And the ADA accessible ramp up to the blacktop path around the lake has been installed.
And it's also gonna make it accessible for me too, because it's hard walking up that hill. There was one fishing derby that was a little postponed to later in the season as a result of some of the work, but that should be coming along rapidly. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you. We did have a planning and zoning commission meeting, last week. There was one item on the agenda for approval. It was the conditional use for a model home. Just a reminder, a conditional use is where, a permitted use, if the property, changes hands, that conditional use is no longer applicable to the new property owner. So a model home is a perfect example of where we're allowing it to operate as a business, for a period of time. Once it transfers to the future homeowner, that condition falls off. Also, I made a public statement related to our February Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where we heard an informal presentation on a planned commercial district rezoning on State Route 3 Sunbury Meadows. And I just wanted to reiterate my individual opinion is that a gas station does not fit on that particular property. I'd also read our zoning code, and our criteria for approval is if the proposed development is consistent in all respects to the purpose, intent, and the applicable standards of the zoning ordinance. If the proposed development is in conformity with the comprehensive plan or portion thereof as it may apply. And if the proposed development advances the general welfare of the city and the immediate vicinity. And I was going to ask Ms. Dreyer, what you were reading was from the Regional Planning Commission, right? Or a township?
It is from the, both actually, because there were several several situations that they were dealing with townships. But what happens, and correct me if I'm wrong, the regional planning they don't have the final say.
That's right.
You can approve something like a variance with a modification or a divergence. But then it goes back to the trustees.
Yeah, I was just going to add what Ms. Dreyer is talking about is that there were concerns by some of the townships that have been raised about how the Regional Planning Commission was operating. So they had asked them to basically, I think, adhere a little bit more closely to their comprehensive plans. And so they're trying to, I think, rein them in just a little bit so that their recommendations are based upon that comprehensive plan or their underlying ordinance or their underlying zoning ordinance. So that's what they're trying to do. So yeah, it sounds like they tried to call out some of the provisions that one would expect to see, and maybe just did that as a kind of an educational process for the members of the Planning Commission. So,
Well, like I said, several of the townships are redoing their comprehensive plan and so, but yes.
Are there any projects from the Regional Planning Commission that we should be aware of? You mentioned that there's a lot going on in the townships. Is there something going on that we need to be aware of?
Our closest one, well, the one that out on 36, 37, it's Sunbury, but it is the four buildings over there, I think it's a construction company. Well, it's a business located in an industrial area. And they wanted to expand. And some of the reasons that it had to go to the Delaware Regional Planning was the roadways and the surrounding areas. The surrounding neighbor, it actually is a junkyard, and it too is zoned industrial. And behind it is some residential, but there's roadways that they cannot block or they would have to widen, and it might fall out of code according to the size and setbacks of the property. So the main concern I feel is the neighboring properties and the best use of the property itself and long-term use.
That's not in the city though.
It is not in the city,
Okay.
no.
It's in
And that-
3637, but it's a Sunbury mailing address, right?
Yes, it's do you know where the gymnastics place is out on 3637? Okay, well, there's a building or a company called Foor, Foor. And they had a beautiful outlay, a beautiful project, but because of certain modifications that did not get passed. And another point is, I really think when companies or property owners are applying for variances and a change in their zoning, it's really something to really should really be looked at and considered very intently, because the neighboring properties can be extremely interrupted. And it just doesn't, once one of these variances or something is allowed, then it's kind of stuck there for a long time. And it's not a good thing for the surrounding properties unless they are all zoned that same way.
Yeah, I'll just add, I'll pull the address on the project that you're talking about. I'll share that with the council members, just so you're aware of the location. I'll also pull the plan that at least was in front of the planning commission, just so you can see it. So, and then if there are any issues, well,
There
yeah.
was one in Trenton Township too, which
Yeah.
is, those are the only two that were close to us, but we didn't have anything.
I'll grab it.
Thank you.
It's just interesting, that's real, and they don't have the final say, it does go back to
Right.
the trustees.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Wade, we're on to the police report.
Good evening, council. Good evening. So the report the chief has prepared has been sent out. Councilman Neff, I was made aware of the Mad Scientist group from my daughter. She endorsed them, so it's a great place to work. It's the second time today I've heard about it, so.
I get page 22. Sorry, wait.
Thank you.
The construction of the new police department is coming along a little faster. Well, the painting's been done, havoc inspections, the parking structure. You'll see the steel going up for the parking structure. We have finished the transition from our less lethal taser to the new company Phaser for our CEW, our conducted energy weapon, less lethals. That transition has taken place. The training for May 8th is all set. Again, the chief was off last Friday, and I was around for a call that lended to the use of our UTV and our drone team. That being a part of that specifically and supporting the medics, fire, search, the support from the city to have those tools available to us were unmeasurable in that certain circumstance. Both the Silverado trucks had to get recalled for the tires not fitting speed ratings. Those have both been accomplished. And our search for the new cruiser for 2024, the Tahoe and Silverados are underway. Again, still some availability issues that we're working through. We did get a hold of Office City Express. We should get a quote Friday for the assistance in tearing down and moving the furniture the sheriff's office is looking to get to us to help out with outfitting the new police department. And that's it. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Questions for Deputy Chief Wade?
I don't have any question. I just have a comment. I just think the way that the new police department's being managed as far as the restoration, the office equipment coming in, it's very fiscally responsible use of city's funds as far as, I mean, you've outgrown your old police area years and decades ago and been patient, and you're finally getting new space, but it's been done very responsible, very transparent. And also, I mean, as far as utilizing furniture from a sheriff's department innocent without having to buy new furniture, I mean, I commend your staff, the city staff, and council members, but for just being diligent on that and really taking the time and the thought process to do it right. So thank you.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Yes, you heard right.
Mhm.
Any other comments? Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Chief. We're on to the administrator report. Mr. Hennessy.
Yeah, so just to be clear, we will have to purchase some furniture because there are some. Just some.
I just said we weren't. so
Yeah,
that's-
I know. I want you to be surprised when we purchase
Yeah,
just some.
I've got some extra in my garage.
Yeah. There you go. All right, two things that I want to highlight. One is the zoning report is in your packet. Mr. Ayer asked this question, I think at the last council meeting, and I told you that I generally include the zoning report in the packet. So on packet page 24, I guess what I want to call to your attention is that this provides a month by month update, year to date, at least for the current year, of where we stand with respect to new construction building permits. And so, Mr. Ayer and others, that even you can begin to see kind of, or you can see kind of the level of activity that's occurred throughout the years, at least the last 6 years, 7 years, and where we stand today. So each month you'll get a copy of this report. And so if you've got additional questions about it, I'd be happy to walk you through it. But again, just generally meant to kind of keep you posted on where that stands. And then the other portion of that report that I've included in the packet, just to give you a sense of where the building is occurring in the city, but maybe more importantly, the summary at the bottom of the page, I think it's back in page 25, just tells you what subdivisions are active at this point. So again, that's the zoning report. And then if I could just build a little bit on what Mr. Neff said regarding J.R. Smith Park. So again, we are at the moment operating under the assumption that we've got at least $1 million to do the first phase. Keep in mind, there still is the capital budgeting process, and so the city may get some additional funds there. Where this project stands, though, is we have asked CT Consultants to go out and do the subsurface utility work. Again, just trying to understand where the sewer and the storm line are that go through the park. That may alter the design a little bit once we get that back. But once we know that and we understand the funding level, again, we'll probably have to do some tweaks to the first phase. And then, that project continues to move forward. So, yeah, just wanted to make sure others had a sense of where that is.
Thanks, Darryl.
Yeah. Questions for me?
I have a question.
Sure.
I think you attended the State of the County address
Yes.
yesterday. Was there anything particular in that? I wasn't able to make it. Was there
Yeah.
anything particularly interesting or intriguing or just a normal?
It was a great event. It was over at the zoo this year. And yeah, I mean, the room was packed. There weren't any special shout outs for Sunbury. There were a few general references to Sunbury. Really, I think what the county, part of the message I think the county was trying to convey is that how much more efficient maybe they've been in processing from a staffing perspective when you consider the growth that's happening in the county and the staffing levels that are in place to do that they really are sort of efficiently handling requests for service and feel pretty proud of that. I think that's maybe the one key takeaway. And they did also, I think, highlight the economic development strategy that would put into place in the last year. And that does call out Sunbury a little bit, mostly the west side of Sunbury, but the east side of Sunbury needs to be added to that report. But no, it was a great event. A lot of people there. It was, sorry you missed it, but we were represented.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hennessy? All right, will we have an engineer's report this evening?
So we don't have it in the packet, unless Dan has indicated he wants anything referenced. Yeah. Yeah. So unfortunately, Dan could not be with us this evening, so we'll pass on that and I'll let you know if there's anything urgent in the interim until our next meeting.
Any comments or questions for engineer or engineering staff? Darryl should take that. All right, thank you. We are on to resolutions, third reading, resolution number 2024.05, a resolution accepting the Sunbury Parkway Master Plan as presented by MS Consultants and directing staff to work toward the implementation of the plan. We're looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Grumney, second by Mr. Neff. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ayer,
No.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas.
Thank you for accepting the plan. Second readings, none. First readings, none. Ordinances, third readings, ordinance number 2024.10, an ordinance to approve a one-time correcting adjustment to the financial records of the city of Sunbury for bank versus book variances that existed prior to 2023.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve by Mr. Martin,
Second.
second by Mr. Capel. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Aaron.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, go to no second readings, first readings, ordinance number 2024.11, an ordinance approving the application of the Sunbury Land Company LLC to rezone approximately 706.2 plus or minus acres of property owned by AEP Ohio Transmission Company, Inc., David B. Cockrell and Curtis J. Cockrell and Glenn F. Hale, trustee located south of US 36, State Route 37, and north of Vans Valley Road from not zoned to industrial district pursuant to the city of Sunbury zoning code and declaring an emergency.
Just one word left out, and it's limited.
Pardon me?
The limited you left out. It's a limited industrial.
You want me to do it again?
No, I just want to make that note on the record. That's a big, yeah. People like the limited.
Sorry about that. It's a lot of words.
You leave out one word, Mr. Brain catches
Yeah,
it.
it's a good one. All right, cool. No action needed. New unfinished business media services agreement not to exceed $27,000. Mr. Hennessy, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so this is the item we talked about at the last finance committee meeting. This is Joey Thomas and the media services contract that he's provided for us, so that the initial contract expired or is expiring, and we're just looking to renew that. So
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Capel,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion?
Is this the same contract as last year?
So slightly modified. It's just a little less in terms of the monthly estimated costs. And it's a different process. So it'll be more time and materials than it will be a it was a retainage fee the last time.
Big walnut one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got a motion and a second. Sorry, was there other
No,
discussion?
I'm just curious what sport was playing tonight.
All of them. Roll call.
Motion, I'm sorry.
I think it was Mr. Capel. Mrs. Cooper.
That's what I thought. Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Aaron,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Got social media policy proposed.
All right, so included in your packet, whatever packet page that is a draft social media policy.
30.
33 in your packet. So we do have an existing social media policy that's uploaded to our Facebook account. But since we've engaged Mr. Thomas, we now have several other media outlets that we hadn't had before. So LinkedIn, Instagram.
Twitter, Instagram, or
Yeah,
X,
right.
I think it's called now.
Yeah.
It's a blanketed one, so. not
So,
one
yeah, so it was time to look at the policy a little bit more closely. So with Mr. Bream's help, we have in front of you a draft. I don't know if there's anything you want to.
No, we just wanted to get in front of you tonight. You know, this is an ongoing area of the law that is, you know, developing with social media and the ability to post things. I mean, on social media, the ability to comment. Of course, you know, there's complete free speech rights, but at the same token, there are certain things that you can't post. And those basically outline those parameters. We had some draft policies. We had some things posted, but recently we had the opportunity to review it, revisit it, look at what else was out there, make changes to it. We think we've improved it. We think it's much better. Protects the public as well as the city. But it's just out there for you to look at. We're not looking for action tonight. Get any comments or questions you have to Daryl and myself, and we'll get it updated.
So just so I'm clear, my own Facebook account, I can delete whatever comments somebody else would post there, but we have to have a structure in place publicly before we can do that as a
Correct. We can't take down things just, well, read through it. I think it'll be self-explanatory, but yes.
And Damon's question, just really quick, I mean, it's a little bit tricky, because he's asking on his Facebook page, we're making sure, like, his personal Facebook page.
Right. Personal, yes, not city.
I do not have a city figure.
Yes, you are correct.
To clarify, yes.
But good work on this, thank you.
And we tweak it, again, to review, if you have questions, concerns, let us know.
I think I'm glad that we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's necessary. I read through it. It's good.
All right, we're on to 2024 Streets Program Permission to Bid, Mr. Hennessy.
Yeah, so as Mr. Capel mentioned from the Services Committee meeting, we would just ask the council authorize city staff to permission to advertise and bid for the street program as presented to the commission or the committee.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Capel,
Second?
second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ayer.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, we're on to new and unfinished business, Mr. Neff.
Last night was the housing crisis hosted by the chamber at the high school. It was very good, informative, pretty well attended, and kind of spoke to, the nice part was Morpsey came and really drilled down to this area. Just talking about the need for housing and to keep kind of looking at new ways to bring housing to a reality and make it more attainable. So it was really informative. I wish more people would have been in attendance, but we'll definitely try to get the message out other ways too.
It was a nice night last night.
Very nice. It was very nice inside the high school, listening to the speakers speak about the housing crisis.
That was.
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Martin.
I'm done.
Mr. Cooper.
Nothing tonight.
All right, Mr. Capel.
Nope, nothing.
Mr. Grumney.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ayer. Okay, good deal. Murray, looks like I won our little bet on the timing. You haven't checked. Said 45 minutes, we're playing prices right, can't go over. He bet on the Parks Commission meeting earlier, he was 7 minutes under.
Yeah.
They finished 23 minutes, he bet 30, and now I bet 45 and we're 4, so. Let's go.
There was no motion to adjourn at this point.
That's why.
So.
There's no objection.
Filibuster. But I did want to talk about.
That's why I went there first, I had to go all the way around, I'm like, man, I got plenty of runway. Motion to adjourn, got a motion by Mr. Martin,
Second.
second by Ms. Greer. Discussion?
Yes.
Okay, roll.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Ayer,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Grumney,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.